I'm a longtime Amazon seller. I started a multi-million dollar Amazon business out of my college dorm room back in 2008.
Hello and welcome to the Wholesale Made Easy podcast, where we believe selling on Amazon shouldn't be hard, and we're going to prove it. My name is Dylan Carter, and I'm one of the co-founders at Vendrive, a tool that helps Amazon wholesale sellers streamline their businesses, stay organized, and land more profitable accounts. I'm sitting down with other successful wholesale sellers, and together we're sharing lessons learned and what it really takes to succeed with wholesale. Building a team is really hard. You always hear that you should hire your first virtual assistant, have a team of people sourcing wholesale products for you each month, and stepping out of the business. But how do you actually do that? I reached out to Nathan, one of the co-founders of freeup.com, to answer this question. And if you're interested in working with Nathan's team at freeup.com, mention the Wholesale Made Easy podcast or Vendrive for a $25 credit.
Nathan, thank you for taking the time to sit down with us, man.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah, so you guys really focus up on the VA side, but in a very nice way, because it started very specific. And I know you've kind of branched out to e-commerce as a whole, but even that is still pretty niche. Can you walk us through why and how you guys started FreeUp?
Yeah, and when people say VA, a lot of times they think like outsourcing people in the Philippines, but we have freelancers from $5 to $100 an hour. We have agencies, we have US freelancers, we have people in the Philippines. So it's pretty wide range. I mean, I'm a longtime Amazon seller. I started a multi-million dollar Amazon business out of my college dorm room back in 2008. Back before the gurus, before the courses, there's no one teaching anything. No one knew what Amazon was. I mean, people thought I was running a scam. People said, go get a real job. And there I was just pushing baby products on Amazon. And I really came about it almost by accident. I was a broke college kid. I needed extra side money, beer money, and I started selling books. And I bought books at the end of the semester, sold them at the beginning of next semester. Books led me to Amazon. I thought it was so cool. I could have this 24/7 storefront and answer customer service emails and ship products and get money deposited in my bank account. And I just started experimenting with computers and video games and sporting equipment and cool stuff that guys like. And I failed over and over and over. And the only thing I could get to sell were these baby products. So I just gave in. I went for the market and we just focused on baby products and toys. And we ran a dropshipping business for years, just growing it out of our dorm room. And what I quickly realized was hiring college kids, not very reliable for the most part. And no 30-year-old marketing expert wanted to work for me as a 21-year-old entrepreneur, right? So I started hiring freelancers and virtual assistants out of necessity. And I got pretty good at it, but it just took forever to post a job on Upwork, get 50 applicants, you interview them one by one, you hope it works out. If it doesn't, you start all over again. And I just wanted something faster. And when I couldn't find it, I built it myself, the FreeUp marketplace, where we get thousands of applicants every week, vet them, take the top 1%, let them in, make them available to sellers around the world with great support and a no turnover guarantee. So if they do quit, we cover replacement costs. So that was the basic idea and how I went from a broke college kid to starting two companies.
So you were basically looking for the more streamlined, easier way of handling this beast, this chaotic beast that is building a not only a remote, but a virtual, global, most of the time, team. I mean, it's something that when everybody gets started, including myself, you read the 4-Hour Work Week, you're like, oh my God, this is the solution. It's going to be super easy. I'm going to find like one person and they're going to do everything. And then you realize, okay, I have 30 applicants I need to vet, which I don't know how to do that. I need to test them somehow. And then I have to hire them, give them tasks, and then manage them. Like there's so much to it. And then I like how you guys were like, okay, there's a simpler way to do this. Let's just rebuild this whole process and make it easier, not only for yourselves, but for everybody. It's such a cool, unique way that you guys approached it. And you guys started exclusively in 2015 with Amazon tasks, right?
Yeah. So we had built up this Rolodex of Amazon freelancers that we had used over the past 8 years. And so we kind of had a starting point on the supply side. And we had known people in the e-commerce community, the Amazon community, and we pretty much said, hey, like, what would it be like to just get access to fast talent? You need a lister, you need a customer service rep. I'll just introduce them to you quickly and they can get started right away. And people were all about it, and they started giving us a chance. And we backed it up with strong customer support, because these are real people, and not every freelancer is the best fit for every single client in the world. And if things did go wrong, and nothing crazy went wrong, but if things weren't the right fit, we would just make it right. We'd credit them. We'd give them credit to someone else. We'd get them a new person right away. So people had a good experience, and then they started telling other people in the Amazon community, and eventually e-commerce community and marketing community. So, but yeah, it all started in that Amazon space.
That's awesome. I like how you can basically build your A team, right? Like, okay, I need somebody who's great at PPC on Amazon. Okay, let's go get that person. I need somebody who's great at listing optimization. Okay, let's go get that person. Because as you start to scale your business, you can't do all these things. Like, it's cool to say, okay, I'm an expert at all things Amazon, but you really can't be. You can't do well and do every single task in the business and consistently grow month after month after month. It's just not going to happen. And then going from I'm already overwhelmed, overloaded, to I now have to train somebody, manage that person. Like, it's just so much more. It's so overwhelming to even get started. And then when you can overcome that hurdle to get started, and then of course your first hire isn't that great because you did it yourself and you're just trying to figure things out and you have no clue what you're doing, you're like, all right, this just doesn't work. How are people building amazing teams? And it's because they're not doing all the work themselves. They're going to freeup.com and they're having somebody who already knows what they're doing, right? So you're eliminating not only a lot of the time, but a lot of the upfront costs as well, which I like how you guys kind of solve that issue in and of itself. So you guys have, I'm just trying to think of like the amount of effort it goes into managing that whole.
We're not managing these freelancers. I mean, it's not like we hand you a freelancer and we're project managing them. I mean, it's against our terms of use for them to share any of your information with us. We don't know what they're working on with you. The relationship is all between you and them. We're running a marketplace, not an agency. And me and my team are there if anything goes wrong, if you have any questions, if you need help or advice, we're always there. But you're really building that relationship and that collaboration. And there's a time and a place for a virtual assistant who follows your instructions. There's a time and a place for a freelancer that you work with to get stuff done. And there's even a time and a place for an agency, a service provider, which I use for my Instagram and Twitter. I mean, I'm pretty good at building teams. I can hire a bunch of VAs and come up with a process. But at the end of the day, as a business owner, you just can't do everything. I'd rather just hire this agency and say, hey, you run this. I want to talk to you like once a month, once every 2 weeks, and that's it. And you just do everything and crush it at a high level, way higher than I would be able to do. So as a business owner, you kind of have to figure out how you want to fall as you're piecing these parts together for your business.
I never considered it that way. It makes so much sense to break out into 3 different kind of tiers of, you have your fancy hands, whichever it is, .com, right? Like you don't know who the person is, and it's like small tasks, and it's not like typically business tasks, but like, you get like 5 tasks a month, and it's like little things, and it's just some random person gets assigned to the task. And then on the other end of the spectrum, like you said, is that agency. It's like, hey, you guys know what you're doing, just send me a report once a month. And then I guess really where this audience would fit in the most is that middle ground of, you want to have that relationship and you want to have say in what's going on. So you don't want to just fully hand it over, but you also don't want to have just some random person, assigned every single time. So that makes a lot of sense, actually. That's really cool. So if somebody wants to get started building a team, this is like the most daunting thing is, where do I start? What's the first hire? Obviously this is a wholesale community. So for the most part, we're doing a lot of the same task, regardless of the person. Where do you suggest, or where have you seen a lot of your clients start?
Yeah, it's the impossible question, right? Because everyone's at a different place. There's no like, oh, if you hire this person first and you hire this person second and this third. I mean, business just doesn't work like that. Everyone has at a different point with different amount of business partners, different amount of revenue, different types of products that are seasonal or not. And there's just a lot of factors. So what I like to do is divide it into the 3 levels, the basic, the mid, and the expert, where the basic is that $5 to $10 an hour follower for your systems, your processes when you think of outsourcing. Then you got your mid-level, which are the specialists. They do 1 or 2 things really well. You're not teaching someone how to be a graphic designer, but they're not consulting with you either. They're doers. And then you got the experts, the 25 and up, whether they're a freelancer, a consultant, an expert, an agency that you're not teaching them anything. They're bringing their own expertise to the table. They're consulting, project managing, executing high-level game plans. So with that said, I like to start with making two different lists. The first list is everything I do on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis. It could be customer service. It could be sourcing products, stuff that you either have a process for or you're going to have to create a process for at some point for your business to be sustainable. So I create a list and I try to assign hours. Hey, I spend 5 hours roughly on this, 10 hours a week on this. And I try to prioritize that list from easiest to hardest. I go at basic level freelancers to try to chip away at those lists. How do I get more time in my day back? Because as a business owner, you can always make more money. You can't get your time back. So you're going to invest short term to get time back long term. That means creating systems and processes, investing in SOPs, and investing in the hiring process, investing in the person eventually to start taking things off your plate. The flip side of that is the other list, which is essentially your weaknesses. What are you not good at that you're doing every single day? I wasn't good at Twitter. Amazon people, maybe you're not good at listings. Maybe you're not good at PPC. Maybe you're not good. Most people are not good at graphic design. There's going to be those things. And are you really going to create an SOP for graphic design? We could all probably do it, but is that a good use of your time? No, you're going to hire either that specialist or that expert to come in and execute it at a very high level. So those are the two places to start, where the basic level stuff is going to be your sourcing, your data entry, your bookkeeping, your customer service. Some people, a bunch of our clients do it for stuff like listing because they have the SOPs that the person can just follow. And then the other list is going to be your PPC, external traffic, listing, could be higher level sourcing or even negotiating from China. It's stuff that kind of falls in there, the SEO, all of that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense. It's really laying out a framework for approaching this versus saying, here's some hard, fast rules that, regardless of where you are, you should first hire a sourcing helper. And then you should it does depend, right? And although there's a common pattern in a generalist view of what we're doing here, everybody is different. There are those subtle nuances that can matter. And so, even if you love graphic design, okay, maybe don't outsource that, right? Maybe don't bring on a specialist in the expert category to do that, but you shift more of the things, out external, the basics, the mid, getting those specialists to do those things that you could do, but you really don't want to because you want to do more of the graphic stuff, more of the listing optimization stuff. Everybody's different. And to say, you should only be doing X, Y, or Z and everything else should be gone, I guess it's too general of a statement to make.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we all want to get to the point in your business where you just wake up one day and you get an email with how much money you make and then you go play golf, right? But the more realistic thing is you're going to be focused on your core competency for a long period of time. If your core competency is running ads, you're probably going to be running ads for at least the first few years of the business before you just pass off the thing that you're best at, unless you just crush it and start doubling every year. So figure out what your core competency is, what you're the best at, and everything else you either need to come up with a process for and pass it off, or hire someone who has that as their core competency. Off of that, there's the side of being an entrepreneur that why be an entrepreneur if you don't do things that you like, right? So if there's certain parts of your business that you like, and whether you're good at them or not, who am I to tell you not to do them? It could be a lifestyle decision that you want to do. So there is that factor. I tend to take the more logical approach. I focus on what I'm good at, regardless of how much I like doing it. But I have plenty of clients who do the opposite. They love sourcing. They could go through spreadsheets all day, and they hate customer service. They hate writing the listings, but they want to just source. And it's not necessarily how I would run my business, but they're very successful and they know what they're good at and they know what they like doing, and they hire for everything else. So there's no right or wrong way to hire. It's just figuring out what you want.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm sure everybody listening is like, okay, well, what's my thing? Because most people haven't had to really ask that question and think about it. It's easy to say, well, I just don't want to do this. But, to your example with the PPC, if you're crushing it and you're amazing with PPC on Amazon, that's the most value you could probably bring to your business, right? If you're viewing your business as its own identity, you sourcing and you not being great at it, but you're much better at PPC, maybe that's a different situation than somebody who's great at sourcing, but sucks at PPC. And so being, I guess, more self-aware of, one, what's my current business situation? Two, what are my core competencies and my weaknesses? And then crafting either a team or just a structure that kind of plugs all those holes and brings the whole ship up to an optimal standpoint, which makes a lot of sense versus just, hire 30 people to source for you. Like, you hear that all the time. It's like, no, just hire like 20 people. They're all going to source. It's going to be great. It's like, no, that sounds miserable. Like, don't start with that. Like, find things that really matter first. So what are, like, I guess the biggest hurdles you see clients go through before they get to you guys? Because I've got a list of my own.
So a mistake that I made back in the day, because hiring is hard, right? So you go through some different people and you finally find someone you like. So what do? You just load them up with everything and you just get them really good at everything. And I did that back in the day. And I had a client who actually hired a family to just run his business. And one day he pissed off some member of the family and the entire family quit on him and he had to start all over. And similar in my situation, I spent 6 months training this one person on every aspect of my business: customer service, listing, pricing. Go to take my first vacation to Myrtle Beach. On day one of the vacation, he quit. So by putting all your eggs in one basket, you're hurting yourself. It's great short term, not so good long term, incredibly risky. So as a business owner, as you're hiring, as you're building this company, figure out how to diversify as much as possible. If you're getting 10 emails a week, that doesn't mean you have to hire 3 customer service reps. But if you get 40 hours worth of customer service, maybe hire 2 people at 20 so they can cover for each other and no one can work 7 days a week. And if one person does quit, you're not thrown back into customer service. You can really do that and departmentalize as you hire. Even if someone's really good, you have to resist the urge of just loading them up with everything.
Yeah, I completely get that. In Michael Gerber's book, E-Myth Revisited, he talks about creating the structure of what the business is going to look like. And if you have that structure with Amazon, regardless really of what your business model is, you can start to see those departments where, you can start to understand, at this point, maybe I should bring in somebody just to do this and then this and then this. And you can start to build that team. And it's funny, I feel like a lot of people, just from my own experience and something I try to do as well the first time around, is find a very general purpose person and have them do 20 completely unrelated tasks and basically try to do everything that I just didn't want to do. And then they don't stick around because, one, it's a terrible situation for anybody to do. The only reason why we're willing to do it is because nobody else will. It's our business. So for somebody who doesn't have the equity in it, who doesn't run it, doesn't have the passion behind it, like, no, I don't want to do that. That sounds terrible. Like you don't want to do that. So being able to also create a environment where somebody enjoys the work and isn't just pulled and stretched as far as possible is a good thing to think about. And it's thinking too, just not just what do I get, but also what can I create for somebody else that kind of builds that better relationship so that person sticks around longer, is willing to perform much higher and do a lot of great things for you and for your company. And it's creating a better equation that equals a higher result for the whole company, including the people who work within it as well.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, there's also just that trial and error that goes into hiring. I mean, sometimes you have to throw stuff against the wall and see what sticks. I mean, I've gone through that where I'm like, oh, do I hire a VA for this? Do I hire a freelancer? Is this the person for me? Because even the best freelancers in the world are not the best fit for every single client in the world. So there is going to be that experimenting. There is going to be, hey, I hired this person. Let's give them 3 tasks and see what they're the best at. And then from that, I can build the rest of my team. It's not always, hey, let's figure out the exact structure and we hire someone, it goes there, hire someone goes there, hire someone goes there. Okay, we're done. It's built. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah, not in reality. Yeah, as a conceptual thing, the book is fantastic. But when it's funny because when you hear people like, oh, I have the best business model, I'm like, great, shred it. It's not going to last more than like 2 weeks. Let's be honest. Because there's so many things you can't account for. And I like what you just said, where you find a task, a role, a situation that is actually present and then you approach it versus, well, let me just hire people to hire them. Like that makes zero sense. I know when I got started, I follow the whole, let's write down all the things you don't want to do, all that stuff, which is great because you get a really clear picture of what should and what shouldn't be and where you should start, which is fantastic. And then you start hiring people, and that's like its own skill set. There's so many like levels to it, and I got decent at it, but even then there's just so many things you don't consider. And when you have 30 people apply, you can pre-filter, let's say down to 5, and then you test those, but then you have to create some kind of test because what does that actually mean? And then how do you know what's a good VA and what's not? How do you know that they did well versus the other person without just saying, oh, they gave me, as sourcing as an example, they gave me 30 results instead of everybody else gave me 8. But that's not necessarily good. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. And so there's so many things. It just becomes its own job of hiring that person, and it's daunting and it takes too long. So I'm glad you guys started this, and that the fact that you specialize in Amazon, but you branch out into e-commerce as a whole, which is very important too, because a lot of Amazon sellers are going multi-channel. So I see you guys also specialize in other channels as well. Can you talk about that for a bit?
Yeah, I mean, it's all about building your brand nowadays. I mean, putting all your effort into Amazon has its risks. We all know what those risks are. We've all met someone or heard a story where they wake up one day and their account is gone. And if you want long-term stability, you have to build a brand. And the only way to build your brand is to have your own website and to sell on different channels and to have a social media channel, even if it doesn't result in direct ROI right away. So you have to start doing these other things. And we really have branched out there. I mean, we also work with a lot of marketing agencies and software companies. So we've really even branched outside of e-commerce. But a starting point a lot of time for Amazon sellers is, okay, I've got my Amazon business. What's my next step? Am I going to Amazon UK, Amazon Mexico? Am I going on Walmart? Am I going on eBay? Am I building my own website? Am I going to try to generate external traffic to Amazon and see if I can push that and get on higher search results? I mean, there's a lot of different avenues to go, and we have experts that can figure out what makes sense for your business. And I have clients who have tried to go in the UK and had a lot of success, or their product didn't make any sense there and it was a bad decision. They wanted to go in a different direction and get on eBay instead. So what works for one business doesn't work for another. And we try to give you the resources to figure out what makes sense for your business. And once you figure out that good path, execute it and keep going in that direction.
That's really cool. It's interesting how you guys are branching out, and I think it's a very strategic way to go about doing it. And to your point, it's not as easy as it used to be, this whole Amazon game. It's starting to mature. It's getting harder. The barrier to entry is a little bit higher to succeed because you're having to provide more value. You're having to have an actual business. You can't just be a quote unquote flipper anymore. You have to build a real business. You have to have actual SOPs. You have to do all the real unfun stuff sometimes. But that can be fun if you get to a point where you understand the value that is in having and writing SOPs. Like I enjoy writing SOPs. Like it's cool because you understand what's going to happen as an outcome of you putting in that effort. And then when you have SOPs that consistently get better over time, that's a beautiful thing. And a lot of people, for some reason, don't see it that way. But I feel like a lot of people can get to that point where it clicks, they get it, and they view their business from a more mechanical standpoint, which I personally enjoy. I don't know if that's like a thing that everybody should view, but I enjoy viewing a business as a mechanical thing that you can make tweaks here and there and find the right person for each task or role and just consistently make it better over time. And that's really where you start scaling and growing a business. And that's where things really get fun because you have more control over those little things and you can make those tweaks and add up. So before we wrap up, what's one thing, regardless of what the person's doing, regardless of the business model, just when they're thinking about getting into hiring their first person, what's your best piece of advice for somebody that's on the fence, that they want to do it, they're kind of overwhelmed and they just don't know really, what to do next? What's your piece of advice for them?
Yeah, so we mentioned the 3 different levels, the basic, the mid, and the expert. If you don't have the direction, if you don't know what's coming next, you really have to hire that expert level. You're going to struggle, or you're just going to cross your fingers and hope you're doing the right thing if you hire the mid and the basic level. So if you're like, hey, I want to get on I want to build my own website, or I want to get on another channel, or, hey, my Amazon business has been stuck in a rut for 3 months. Hire an expert to come in, have them review everything. They'll probably have a ton of questions for you, and you'll have questions for them, and they can consult with you and create maybe a few different options of game plans with different budgets, and let you pick which one makes sense to move forward. Don't be afraid to hire those experts to come in when you get stuck, when you're not going in the right direction. And you can always fill in the mid and the basic level freelancers later, but you need that direction. Some clients do, some clients don't. But if you find yourself stuck, go that expert route.
Awesome, guys. It doesn't get much easier than that. I love it. So if people want to get started with you, what's the best route for them to take? Where should they go to start building that team?
Yeah, go to freeup.com with 3 E's. My calendar is right at the top. You can book a free meeting with me, create a free account, mention this podcast, get a $25 credit to try us out. And we would love to take care of you and help you grow your business.
Awesome. Nathan, thank you so much for taking the time again, man. This was amazing and really clarified a lot of things. Even for myself, this is fantastic. So thank you, man.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Before we leave, I have a huge ask. If you enjoyed this podcast and you got value from it, leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. The way we're able to have more impact on more sellers is by getting in front of them. We can do that by having more reviews and getting pushed to the top of iTunes podcasts. So leave us a review and let us know what you think of the podcast.